The truth about Neos has finally been revealed. What's up, guys? We are back with another epic video, and this one is extremely epic. You guys have probably heard about Neos over the last few years, the conspiracies. I made a video recently about what was going on with the card, why was it not being reprinted. There's been a lot of speculation over the last few years about what is actually going on. If you want to see all the conspiracies, check out that last video. But just yesterday, at the time of seeing this video, news broke out about a previous lawsuit. So I posted a short about that. I talked about it on my Ruxin Live channel. There's been a lot of speculation swirling around about that. But basically, it seems like the lawsuit revolved around an original character named Ravidactyl that theoretically or possibly was the inspiration for Neos. Now, this is all alleged. We can't say anything for sure. I can't say it. You know, we don't want to risk getting sued or anything like that. But the big news is I was able to get the creator of Ravidactyl, his name is Graig Weich, CEO of BeyondComics.tv, on an interview. And I asked him all the questions that you want to know, all the questions that we feel like we need to know the answer of. I know a lot of people have been going at Graig saying he's the reason we don't have Neos, which, first of all, guys, come on. Don't attack people because of something you're not even sure about. Because, first of all, the lawsuit happened. We don't know the circumstances around it. We might have a little bit better idea after watching the interview. So don't attack people until you have the full context. So I got Graig on an interview to talk about his experience with Ravidactyl, the Neos, how they're related, the lawsuit, everything he could say that he wasn't, he signed, some agreements. So certain things could not be disclosed, but a lot comes in this interview. It's like 50 minutes long. So there's a lot in here. So I'm not going to spend any more time rambling. Let's solve the Neos mystery right now. All right, guys, we have gotten the man on. His name is Graig Weich, CEO, correct?
Yes.
Of BeyondComics.tv, which is different than what I mentioned in a previous video. It's BeyondComics.tv. We want to get that right. And as you can see, okay, can you pronounce the character? Because I don't want to pronounce it wrong.
Yes. And before I even pronounce anything, I did not stop Konami from using their version of the character at all.
Yeah.
At all. None of my team did. None of us stopped them. I just want to make that clear. So
yeah, he really wants everyone to know this. So make sure you get that in your brain. All right, guys, keep that in mind.
I did not stop, but really, I really didn't. And listen, anybody who would have stopped the creation of a character from being released, I would be angry too. So I understand everyone being angry. They just happen to be not know the truth, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to that. So I want to ask you, first of all, who are you? I introduced you, but I want to hear about you and your background, and I want to hear about your character. Ravidactyl?
Yes, that's it. Ravidactyl.
Ravidactyl. Okay, there we go. So give us some info about you and the character itself. That'd be great to hear.
Absolutely. So I'm an independent comic book artist, writer, and director, Graig Weich from BeyondComics.tv. And actually, I got my start breaking into comic books way back in the day when I was a youngster, drawing for Todd McFarlane's Spawn, issue number 30. So I was the featured poster artist, double-page spread, pinup artist, having Spawn fighting Angela. Which is crazy that they got into a lawsuit and can't reproduce that work either, which is unbelievable, but that's how I got my start. And Todd McFarlane and I actually spoke about it being my very first paid job in comic books in a video that I posted on my social media as well. And now, all these years later, I'm CEO and founder of BeyondComics.tv. That's this over here. And just before we get started, this is my current comic book, GEKIDO, which means wrath in Japanese, that I hand drew, penciled, inked, and digitally colored with co-creator writer Brandon Wilson, who wrote the script, and I did the art here. And then, of course, on the back, you can see Ravidactyl, who looks...
There he is! He's even on the new stuff, so you're dedicated to this guy.
We have a whole thing with the whole, my character, Ravidactyl, but I will let you talk for a little bit. I'm sorry for babbling on here.
No, that's good. That's good. We wanted to hear about you. So now let's hear a little bit about Ravidactyl. So, that seems like that's been your, thing for a long time. That's been, your pet, you love this thing.
This is... I wrote over 100 drafts of the script, over 120 to 140 pages each for years until I perfected that screenplay, which is currently right now in review with a major movie studio, which I'm happy to announce. So that's really exciting. This is the character. And for us independent artists, it takes a lot longer to get work out there. And that's one of the reasons why I just felt as an independent artist, I did not want to lose the rights to my character. I was forced into a lawsuit, or I would lose the rights to everything I had been creating years before Yu-Gi-Oh was a thing, years before their characters. And again, it was a coincidence or whatever. I have to say that legally, but the reality is that they were next to me at Comic-Con. We had the same booth next to each other. I was displaying this statue of Ravidactyl and my artwork and everything I had been working on. I had shot a live-action short film a few years before that with the Ravidactyl character that featured celebrities officially in the live-action trailer. And we won the New York International Independent Film and Video Festival, which is now known as ITN Distribution, who does those films, the R-rated version of Mickey Mouse and the Sailor Man Popeye and the, what was the other one, Winnie the Pooh. They did those horror movies recently. So that's ITN Distribution. That's the same company. So that's who, we did it. And this was the actual poster in the comic books. You can see a preview of it here. Of my character Ravidactyl, and God rest his soul, it starred Coolio, Grammy Award-winning rapper, and we had the last role from Dave Prowse, who was, of course, Darth Vader in the original 3 Star Wars. He flew in from England to shoot the bad guy role, as you see him there. And then we also had Donald Faison, who's Turk in Scrubs from NBC. And I directed that, and we won the film festival for it, which was really exciting, and best action short, and that's when I was like, geez, I should start writing scripts, and I should start, elaborating on the character. And that's kind of how this, all happened. So I'm spending, my life, and maybe this is nothing to the big giant corporate, money machines that exist. I'm a little independent artist. This is my whole life, this little thing. This little character means nothing to anybody, but to me, it was everything. So when I showed them the characters, and I was hoping maybe we could do some licensing deal or cross-promotion deal or whatever, everybody seemed very nice and friendly. Everybody was cool. And I want to make it clear that I'm in no way blaming or accusing anyone or anything like that. It's just something that happened, and I was going to lose the rights to my character if I did not defend the copyrights, the trademarks, everything that I had worked so hard on. And I want to ask the fans out there, imagine you had created your character and you showed it to your favorite company. And imagine that, they looked at it, and then less than a year later, they come out with something that makes you think it could be your character possibly. And then you call them, and I'm not saying I did this, but let's pretend that I called, which I'm not saying I did. And let's pretend you guys called them and said, hey guys, I noticed that the character I showed you seems to be something very similar that's been released. Do you mind giving me like some kind of like contributing helpful creator credit on that one character, or maybe even 1% or anything? And imagine if they laughed at you and said, sue us, what are you going to do? You're just a stupid independent artist. And that was the kind of stuff that I think nobody should have to endure, and I'm not saying that happened to me, but imagine if it happened to you, and imagine if it did happen. And if it did, I think it would hurt people and frighten them. And then imagine if you were threatened to try to defend the rights of your character. So I'm not saying that happened, because again, there's confidentiality agreements and things, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything at all. But I felt as an independent artist, I didn't have anything. I'm not a rich guy. I didn't have money. I didn't come from wealth, and this is all I had. So I did everything in my power to try to work something out. Please, can we do anything at all? And then I had other works that I created directly stolen, of my actual art taken, which I could tell you about later. Just remind me. Okay. So to have this happen this time, well, now I was a little bit older. I just finished, school, and I, was like, wow, I don't think I should put up with this anymore. It's one of the reasons why I created Beyond Comics as an independent comic book company, because I was tired of the little guy, us independent artists, getting stomped over by giant rich corporations and giant rich, lawyers who are destroying us, who aren't ethical. And I'm not saying that this company did that or anything like that. Again, this is all allegedly, right? So,
right.
You have to be really careful, because they could destroy someone who's, you know, like me, who is not a powerful, you know, huge multi-million-dollar corporation or whatever, even with the things that I've been able to do, the little accolades I have been able to achieve, you know, so it's frightening to go up against a giant like that. And it's shocking that they would want to do it. But as you saw, or I think you mentioned, somehow the lawsuit, I guess, has been public for years. I didn't know that everything that's publicly posted all over the place like that. But I've had to hold back from doing what I wanted to do with the character. Everyone's like, why is it taking so long to release your character? Well,
yeah.
there's been some things you don't know about, you know? And also it's very expensive for us. So they could pop out a comic book overnight like this. You know, for us, we have to raise money and we have to, you know, there's a whole process involved to be able to do it the right way. I mean, even this book cover is, to my understanding, this is the very first world's high gloss flexible comic book cover. So I don't believe that they've ever printed a cover on this specific material like this. It was very hard to do, and it comes on different pages. In Canada, we had to slice it down and, you know, do a whole thing to make this work. But I thought it would kind of lend something different to the comic book, you know? So there's a lot of that's, you know, transpired that people don't know about. And I want to see both versions of the characters, theirs and mine, you know, work out a fair deal and come out. You know, it's important to me, and I absolutely understand and appreciate that the fans are angry. And if I did stop them, they should kick my ass. But I didn't stop them, and I wouldn't stop them. And that's very important, and I take that very seriously, and I love the fact that they care. Because I love anime, I love comic books, I love manga, I love that. It's my life's work since I'm a child. There's nothing else I've ever done. That's all I do, and I love it. So I completely agree with them. I understand. But the truth is I never stopped them, and there's nothing that I ever did to stop them or anybody that worked with me or the team or anything. So none of us stopped them. So the important thing to note is that it's also not a money grab at all. When you see those listings of millions of dollars, that's the money that apparently they earned off of the character. So how about 1,000.01%? Nothing. No negotiation. They're not sharing anything. And a lot of these, you know, not specifically these people, but generally speaking, there's a lot of general, very wealthy corporations and lawyers who want to take more and more and more and are greedy, and, you know, they just don't want to share. And that's really sad. But if anybody knows anybody from Yu-Gi-Oh who would like to strike any kind of licensing fair deal or whatever with us, anything, I'm happy to work anything out. I would love to see the character continue with something fair done, as long as it doesn't stop me from doing my version of the character and theirs, and then we're good to go. And that's again, here's the character, you put a side by side or whatever, and that's why I posted that video, you know, on my channel that really kind of outlines a lot of it.
There's one thing you said a lot of things that I want to get to, but the first thing that I want to go back to was you had a booth next to them at Comic-Con.
New York
so this
Comic-Con,
is 2000 and what year?
It was seven, I think it was.
Okay, so that,
like
yeah,
that.
so
Seven,
it was,
think,
it came out in 2007, so it must have been before that, I guess.
It would have been 6, then in 2006. It was literally less than a year before.
Can you give us any info about that? Like, were you just like, were you working with them, or were you just next to them?
No, I had my booth here for Beyond Comics, and then they had their booth. And this is all public. There's everything that I'm saying is public. I'm not saying anything that isn't publicly printed on Google. Somewhere on Google. So, or people are talking about it already. And I have not released anything. I have not said anything until now, but I got bombarded with more messages than I can count. I got, you know, a few assistants that helped me here in the art studio, and they're like, what's this? And God bless them. They've been kind of answering things for me while I was dealing with some, you know, unfortunate family circumstances, cemetery
stuff.
Sorry to hear that. Thank you. You know, so that was rough, but you know, they've been trying to help me out and answer messages for me. And then I just came back and started like catching up on what the hell's been happening. You know, we're on the phone, like, what's happening? Like, you know, it's like this. Yeah. But the thing that was killing me is that the fans actually thought I stopped them. I did not. And I would not. I would not stop someone's version of a character from coming out that fans love this character. So that's evil to stop it. I wouldn't do it. Just end of conversation. No, hard stop. But why not strike a deal together? Let's have your universe of the character and then my universe of the character. And maybe they could collide together, have a crossover, something fun. You know what I mean? Like, let's all work together. We're all artists and creators, you know what I mean? So I don't know who was behind what had happened, but, you know, whoever it was, you know, it's a shame. But when companies get that large and things like that, I think it gets out of the hands of the creators. That's why I'm not accusing any of the creators involved or anything like that. I don't know who did this or how this happened, or if it was coincidental. Could have been, who knows? Right. But I think there was enough elements that, you know, made me realize, let me say it like this. If it wasn't similar, I couldn't lose the rights to my character. So okay,
can you go into that a little bit more? Because you've said that a lot, like, I was going to lose the rights to my character. How were they going to take that away from you? Like, that's something that I think people will want to know.
Sure. So it's confusion in the marketplace and derivatives. So if I did not defend the right, then I lose my copyright, and then they would gain it.
And what can you specify? What is your copyright exactly? Because I saw a lot of people saying, red hero with wings. How do you copyright that? I want you to answer that so they can understand how you copyright it.
There are copyrightable elements and then copyrightable elements that are not copyrightable. For example, a generic black mask is not really copyrightable. A generic black hat, a generic cape. There has to be a copyrightable element. And the combination of that. And it's not enough just the fact that my copyright was first and way before, like years before, as you can see publicly, right? Yeah. But in addition to that, you have to prove, how did they meet you? How did they hear about your stuff? You know, well, we were together at Comic-Con publicly. Everyone saw that. We're listed, you know, it's in the programs if you go back to Comic-Con. Somewhere between 2006 or 7 or something like that, I think it was. But it's so long. Oh, my God. It's like, Jesus, can you believe this? Like more than 17, 18, 19 years ago, something like that. Yeah. Wow. But yeah, so you have to prove that. And then you also have to prove notability or notoriety of the character. The fact that I had celebrities in the live action version I had done. The fact that I had a preview of it in my other comic book that I had done way back then, the fact that I was on 2020 ABC News and promoting my own work and that character appeared on there allows for a chance of notoriety, meaning that it doesn't have to be worldwide famous. It just has to be publicly viewable somewhere. Yeah. Not only social media, which was just starting with YouTube back at that time, but it was also the fact that it legitimately, you know, was featured on TV shows. And I think it was like, what was it? Fox Sports Net, I think, featured it as well, MSG Network. And there was a whole bunch that were showing it and stuff, you know. And then, again, the celebrities were cross-promoting with me at the time. And, you know, so it's not like I didn't have those 3 elements. I did. And the proof that it's not a money grab, because I did not make barely anything. When they settled with me, I'm not allowed to discuss any of the terms of the settlement. However, it's like super small, like enough to cover your rent for a short amount of time, possibly, but I can't disclose any details. Numbers, but very small. Some of the lawyers wanted to fight for years. And they were doing, let's get them. Of
course they do. Yeah.
Oh my God.
They want to make money on it.
Yo, you are. And I'll tell you what scared me. When the lawyer said, "Hey, this will be fun."
You're like, maybe for you, buddy, but I got to go back to my life.
That's it. And I literally lost about a full year, 9 hours a day. 5 days a week, and then on the weekend collecting evidence and data and all these kind of things. It was miserable. I just want to tell everybody, do not go through a lawsuit if you can avoid it. It is horrific. You lose so much of your soul, your time, your money, your peace of mind. It is so nerve-wracking, you know, and it's not the first time that this character came into question with people overseas trying to take it. And I'm not saying that anybody did try to take my character. I just want to make that clear on the record because of the confidentiality form and some other things I had to sign. So again, nobody, you know, I'm not saying anybody tried to take my character. Yeah. But there was another case that had happened not too long ago, like literally right before the pandemic, recently, a few years ago. But this time I had my comics out. I've was on Comic Book Men with Kevin Smith on 3 different seasons of that. They showed Ravidactyl in season 2. If you go to the IMDb, you'll see Ravidactyl in the actual screenshot there, which is exciting. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin Smith and the team, and all that stuff. And then on Ice Loves Coco with Ice-T and Coco. So now I started to get some stuff out there. So when the character I felt was impinged upon by a different company, we wrote them. And this time, instead of it being a lawsuit, we received a letter back, and this I am allowed to say, from this other company that said, "Super sorry, how much would you like?" It was not even a fight. Like, just admitted it straight up. I'm not saying what the company was. It was unbelievable.
So what did you do?
So I was like, I mean, again, even smaller, smaller.
You were just like, just give it, we can settle. It's like, just, it's cool.
I just wanted it to end. I just wanted to end. But again,
was this before or after the alleged other one?
Oh, no. This last one I'm talking about was like about 5 years ago.
So you had been through it the first time and you're like, no way am I doing that again.
Exactly. and you got it, man. You hit the nail on the head with that. And again, these lawyers, not all the lawyers, but many of the lawyers want to, let's have fun. We'll take it on for a few years and maybe we'll make a fortune, or maybe we won't, or maybe this and maybe that. And I'm like, can we just end this like as soon as possible, please? And I literally ended up calling like the owner of the law firm, and I said, please end this. I can't stand it. I don't want anything. I just want to protect my character, so it wasn't even about the monetary thing. Of course, the lawyers need to take, their part of it for their time and everything like that. But I never knew that if I didn't do anything, that I abandoned my copyright. I didn't know that was a thing, so that was a very frightening kind of thing. And I just couldn't risk that, especially after what I had been through. And I could tell you other situations that occurred, but please.
That is actually really interesting, because I bet a lot of people didn't know that if you don't defend it, like, you just forfeit it, which is a big deal, especially when there's something you care so much about. There's one thing, I want to go back to the copyright thing. We kind of went through, like, there's certain elements of protection. Do you know what they were for Airneos? Was it, sorry, Ravidactyls, what they call is what, they started calling Airneos. That's the real version here. Which I also want to mention, if you've had multiple people, in theory, trying to, take this design, not a bad idea. I will say, a lot of people like it. So,
thank you.
So what are some of the copyrightable things? So, but it's not just how it looks. It's also, as you mentioned, the whole, like, what goes around it, like if it's on different places, what the character is all about. And I did see in the lawsuit, it was something about like different, how his form worked or something. Can you explain a little bit about that?
It's the elements put together in what juxtaposition, it's very important. And also, kudos to my lawyer who found the article. I'm not quoting this exactly right, but it is publicly listed. But, they had said that they are coming to New York Comic Con to look for independent superhero creators for their next hero character. And that's in writing. Something like that was said, and that's publicly listed on Google. It's in the magazine, it's in print. They literally said that. So to meet the independent artist creator and superhero creator, and that they're looking for that specifically, was in print.
Did you know that at the time?
No, I had no idea.
You found that later. Okay.
Oh yeah, like in the middle of the case, and it was like, wow. And I'll tell you, nobody would take the case. Like, I was really upset, and I was just depressed, and I thought that there was no hope to defend my character, And when I had tried to reach out directly and was, discarded, that's when I was like, wow, I wonder how this is going to impact my ability to release my version of the character. And I would call, some lawyers up, a couple of them that I was looking, through the yellow pages at the time, and all that kind of stuff, to try to search to find a lawyer, and anybody online, whatever. And people are like, oh, no, we can't do blah, blah. And then I said, you know what, I'm just going to go to like one of the world's biggest law firms, like in the world, and let me just see what happens,
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, no, we can't do, no, it's too small a case, we can't do blah, blah, blah. I said, I saw their email, so I was like, check your email. And they're like, why'd you send us something that looks almost identical to the other thing? And I was like, because my character's on the left. And they were like, wait, what? And I was like, see? We'll take the case. So,
wow, that's so interesting. And so how did you go about, like, how did you realize it had happened? Like, where did you see their elemental hero Neo's character?
It's a great story. And I'll tell you exactly how it happened. And also just in regards to it, the other lawyers I had called were like, oh, you know, we can't be all this, but you should know that you'll lose the rights to your character. Okay, goodbye. And they hung up. And I was like, lose the rights to my character? And that's when I finally started to pursue it, when I heard that was an option.
Well, yeah. Thanks for letting me know, buddy.
It's just, listen, it may not be the most, you know, whatever character, but it's mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's my little contribution.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, you put all that time into it, so it means a lot to you. You got to tell us how this happened.
Let me see how I can say this. I'm going to have to alter a little bit of it because of, again, the wording, you know.
Right.
But I was sitting at my art table, and a TV commercial comes on. And I said, oh my God, is that my character on television? Wow, this is so exciting. And I said, wait a second. So there was this moment where I did not realize that it wasn't mine. And that was a shock. So just to show like how naive that I was like, oh, is that my character on television? I was excited. Wow, I wonder how that happened. I was like, wait a minute. You know,
wait, how did that get there?
Reaction. Yes. And what you don't know, and maybe somebody could find it on YouTube if there's any around, maybe someone posted it or has it on a you know, a DVD or a VHS or something like that, or a recording of it. But they had a commercial for that card series and for that character, and the 3D CGI model that was shown spun around, which was almost identical to the one I had made with my CGI artist that I had showed them on a portable DVD player.
Yeah.
Which was mind-boggling to me. And it was so close that they mathematically got the shape of the helmet and everything. It looked exactly the same. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to post their version. I don't know how that works, but I have the video, the side-by-side, and you can't tell from that 3D version. It's almost impossible on first glance to see that it's different.
So you know, it did the same move.
Not only the same spin around, like the camera spins around, the character move, but that helmet was, let me see if I have this, like if you guys could see this here, like you see the helmet over here, right? So that's a statue, but there was a CGI built helmet. And at the time, the polygon count and how you do that, you know, is very specific. You have to really do it manually. They didn't have ZBrush yet and all that stuff. So it looked so close. It was so close, you know, that I myself had to watch it again and find it. And I was like, what is going on? And I just couldn't believe that it was happening again to me. And again, this said, I had gone through a series of other people taking my work. And I was like, is this happening again? You know, and it was, is it coincidence? Is it intentional? Who knows? You know, so that was the big question mark that I had to discover. And it's one of the things that pushed me to, again, create, oops, did we get disconnected?
Yeah, I was running out of time. I had to redo that. I saw a countdown. I was like, this isn't good. So, yeah, we're good. I want to go, I want to mention, so you're sitting there, you're watching TV.
Yeah.
And you see a commercial for the Strike of Neo set, which is what it came out in. I've seen that commercial before, and that is crazy that is what tipped it off. That's you were like, found out. That was when a lot of people found out about that set. So it's like, you were just like, oh, and like, I guess in theory, you could have just not seen it. And then like, if you won't follow Yu-Gi-Oh, you just don't know. So like, it's really interesting to think about, like, there's probably people that just never found out about their thing or whatever, you know, or maybe it was a long time later. So very interesting.
Exactly. And I should say, I remember seeing a card that a lot of people were comparing to Batman. Did you see that by any chance?
Was it a Yu-Gi-Oh card or was it a different?
I think it was. It's been a while, but I think it was. And they're like shocked at how similar or something like that. But I know that the big giant companies have like handshake deals. They're all giants. They're all rich. They're all like, and I mean like, you know, nearly $1 billion each company. Like it's huge stuff. You know, and when they do that kind of stuff up there, sometimes they're like, well, you could do this, you could do that. Just like there was like Aquaman and Submariner. You know what I'm saying? Or they have Plastic Man and Mr. Fantastic. You know, they both have similar. So sometimes they're doing this stuff, or they have Century and they have Superman, which is, you know, but it's like, what's the point of suing? They're both rich. So they're
it's a waste of time. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like all that, and they're not going to lose the rights because neither of them are going after each other.
Have you heard about, this was another question I was going to ask you. Have you heard about the Kadabra thing with Pokemon?
No, tell me.
So in Pokemon, it was kind of a similar situation to what's going on with the Air Neos thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like, they weren't printing it for a long time. It was even weirder in Pokemon because Kadabra is one of the original Pokemon. And starting in like 2002, they just stopped reprinting it. And it had something to do with a magician who said that Pokemon represented him because he used these spoons and they would hold the spoons. And so for like 20 years, they didn't reprint this card. But then just a couple years ago, I guess they figured it out with them because they started printing it again. And I was going to be like, so would you feel about that with Air Neos? But I think you made that pretty clear that you're like, I'm good. Let's make this thing happen, man. You know,
if anybody from Yu-Gi-Oh just knows anybody, call me. I'm totally open to working out a fair deal.
Konami, let's make this happen. This guy wants his character and your character to simultaneously exist. It would be awesome. It'd be really cool.
There's room for both.
Yeah, there is room for both. It'd be really, really cool. And is there anything else you can tell us about, like, let's say, so after the whole year-long process goes by, I know you have confidentiality, you can't say too much.
Sure. I don't know the truth to get out there finally. It's been killing me not to talk about it until this all just exploded a few hours ago and everyone started like, oh, hey, you're going to learn the truth.
So basically, once it was over, you just couldn't say anything, and but you did retain the rights to your character, at least. Correct. So that was a win, but you said you were waiting. You didn't want to like post about your character. So like, were you not able to do it, or were you just worried about this coming back, or what?
Everybody retains their rights. Everything is fine. Everybody is good. We're all happy. You know, I can't discuss any details from the confidentiality agreement. However, we could all, you know, we're free, so to speak. However, that doesn't mean that let's pretend that you created a character and there's a giant corporation that could crush you in 1 second if you do anything that's, you know, maybe you might be scared to try to do something because you don't want to be destroyed. So there's all these different reasons why there could be delays and things like this. However, now that I'm building my own company with BeyondComics.tv and my own universe, I have a Beyond Comics universe with hundreds of characters that I've created through the years since I'm 14 years old. And, you know, being able to have all these characters, I have a character codenamed Justice. And let me just take a second, if you don't mind. I just want to.
Yeah, go ahead. Show whatever you want.
So, thanks. That's codenamed Justice.
Very cool.
And he fights against the, you know, to get to the truth behind the conspiracy theories and which ones are true.
Oh, that's really interesting. You bring that up about this specific video.
Discover the corruption.
I think we needed Justice a few years ago. Like, where was he at?
That's codename Justice right there.
Justice might have been the answer we've been looking for right here.
Thank you. You know, and it's a lot. You know, so I've been working on that, and then I have this other character that I'm really happy to that in our GEKIDO comic book and in Ravidactyl and Justice we have 3 different roles, and I was able to cast my business partner, Cary Tagawa, who's the star of Mortal Kombat, as Shang Tsung, as one of our characters, and he's so great, you know, and Cary Tagawa, as you know, is started in the movies, Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 11, the video game, they did, you know, they brought him back again, it was so great, and you can see the close-up of him there from Mortal Kombat. Is that coming out there?
Yeah, I can see it. Looks great.
Good. So, you know, and he's awesome. Like, he calls me up. He'll call me up like at 2 o'clock in the morning at night. He's like, Greg, are you ready to meditate? I was like, what? I was like, okay. You know? He's like,
No, I'm not.
His mind, you know? He does that. So
That's
cool.
awesome.
He's so cool. He's so cool, you know?
That is
and then,
awesome.
Of course, with the Ice-T's wife, Coco, I cast Coco as a character there. You can see that there, and some of the Comic-Con appearances and things like that, and Comic Book Men, and you know, when they showed Ravidactyl and characters on there, which was like a dream come true, and that's actually when we won the award for the animated version I did of Ravidactyl versus Codename Justice, my characters, and that was the HBO sponsored Urban Action Film Festival award there that we were won with the characters.
So you're telling me Justice existed with Ravidactyl?
Yes.
So little did you know there would be a conspiracy theory about one of your characters. Like, how is that? How crazy is that?
It's
like
super ironic. Right?
You never could have like thought of that. You're like, all right, they've got the conspiracy guy versus Ravidactyl, and then somehow Ravidactyl becomes a conspiracy for 20 years, basically. Like, which is. It's just nuts how that works out.
It's bonkers, you know. But I will say that I don't want to say this to fans. You know, look at how long I have stuck with this, and I'm still grinding and fighting to get my characters out there. And I will make you a promise, and that is that I officially finished with Emmy Award-winning producers the Codename Justice script, the Ravidactyl script, and it is a tribute to everything that we've grown up loving, from the Matrix movies to the Dark Knight Christopher Nolan movies, you know, to the original Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. It's all woven into something original and new, with the characters, new superpowers, new storylines, new fresh designs and things that people haven't seen before. Not another guy who shoots lasers out of his eyes or, you know, who just flies around. No, this is super super original design characters, and I hope that you guys like it. I really tried to learn from, you know, my kind of upbringing and trying to improve and just do better as I get, you know, more experience in the industry with it and stuff like that. And, you know, just to kind of, just to show you like some of my artwork or whatever in the comic books, just to see.
And you drew it all, right?
Yeah, I drew everything by hand, pencil ink, you know,
so
and
cool.
Digital colors. Vince did some awesome, terrific colors as well in there, and that was great. And you know, and this is a double page spread here, which is actually this. You know what? This in GEKIDO, if you could see her lunging at him, that's a tribute to the work that I did when I was published in Spawn with Todd McFarlane, which I have here. I just want to show you. This was my first published comic book in issue number 30 of Spawn. Wow. That was my first pencil and inked art, and the colors by Helioptics. So if you look
closely, it's like a throwback.
That's exactly what I was trying to do.
That's so cool.
Art back in the day when I was a teenager, and now, so there you go.
Some things change, but then you can always go back to what worked, you know? That's awesome.
It. You know, just a little tribute on there just to kind of, you know, bring it back in a little nod. And there are people, God bless them, who come up to me at Comic-Con, you know, from time to time when I make appearances once in a while, you know, and they're like, and they bring that Spawn copy. And I'm like, oh, you figured out that's the same artist. That's cool that they figured out I had done that. And also with all the original hatred that I apparently am getting with people who think that I stopped the Yugioh character. I did not stop the Yugioh character if you're just tuning in. But one of the key factors is there were some very nice messages. And one person had messaged me and they said, hey, listen, you know, maybe the Yugioh character would never exist without what you did, possibly. And thank you for contributing to my childhood with your version, which may have led to their version, possibly. I'm kind of altering what he said a little bit, but that's the main thing that he said. I'm using words like possibly or whatever, but he was very supportive. And it's very nice to meet some new fans and some new people who are following. And I thank you for giving me the benefit of the doubt before making a judgment call or, you know, toxically hating me online, you know, without knowing my heart and what I tried to do. And, you know, and the effort that I put really to try to make something happen and keep things going.
Well, you know? I will say, of all the heroes that exist in Yu-Gi-Oh, that is probably my favorite artwork. So I'm a huge fan of that card. And now I'm a huge fan of Ravidactyl because, first of all, the name Ravidactyl is too good. Like, when I saw that and they're like, this is where it came from, I'm like, that name is so much cooler than what we got. Like, that is really cool. So I'm already a fan of it. And one last thing, I was already going to ask you, sure. My last question before asking, like, you know, where we can find you and everything was going to be, would you ever give your blessing to reprint this card? I think we've heard that, but if you want to say anything else about that, you can.
If they can contact me or I can contact them, I'm not above that. I hold no grudge, by the way. I have no grudge at all. Never have any grudge or anything like that. I just want it to come out. So the answer is, if we could just be even the smallest, tiniest, reasonable fare, yes, I would love that to come back out, especially for the fans. You know, so if we could just have a conversation, something that we both could agree on together, just anything fair, even the tiny fair, doesn't have to be crazy. Whatever,
we're not asking for much over here. I mean, let's just make it happen, Konami.
Anything that's kind of nice, you know, just whatever you can do. Maybe like, hey, you know, thanks to Graig or something. Or whatever he may have done.
They need to make a card called like Graig, and then it's just like you're like an elemental hero, like you have like the card in your hand or something. They can do like a spell card. This is an idea, Konami. They do this. They take the monsters, they put them on spell or trap cards. They put you with the card in your hand, and they make it have some sort of effect that works with elemental heroes. That would be so good. I mean, I just came up with it there, but I mean,
that's brilliant.
That would be awesome. Cool. And then it could be like, it could have your name in it or a reference to you or something. Like, that would be so cool. I mean, I think people would love that.
Anything that they want to do with me, just please, just let's try, especially for the fans. Like, see, the thing is that most of the corporate heads, I think, might be the ones in charge these days. So they don't really care about the stuff that we care. We're the artists, the fans, the lovers of this stuff. They run a business, right? Yeah. So, you know, guys, if you could kind of put aside the business for a second, just do it for the fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, they love the character. So let's have like a, you know, like my universe and your universe, and maybe they could collide in a crossover or do what you said, you know, or anything. Like, there's so many fun ways to do it. There's no reason to not, in my opinion. So why don't we try to find a way together to do something, especially because I'm like super flexible. Like, you know what I mean? Honestly, I'm so aware of, you know, leaving something behind. You know what I'm saying? And when time is up and, you know, again, you know, I was dealing with some family issues and things, and, you know, you see how short life can be sometimes. And why not, you know, you can't hold on to any money. You can't, but you could leave a legacy. You can have heroes continue and they live forever. So in a way, what we create might be more real than us. You know, so it's kind of beautiful when you think of it in those terms, you know. And also, I didn't mention this, but you know, Ravidactyl, the comic book is called Ravidactyl Life Beyond Death. And it really deals with a character who is, you know, on the verge of not being able to go on anymore. And maybe he can't find the will to live. And through the pain and suffering and anxiety and the depression and the suffering, has to find a way to find hope and purpose again. And just stumbles upon this alien technology, which is this alien armor, you know, and he is not the first wearer of the Ravidactyl artifact. There may have been some alien species before him, and, you know, discovering what if mythology was not myth, but truth concealed. And then he has to bridge the gap between the past, present, and future, or everything will crumble. And it's a very deep and intense story with massive twists and turns and shockers, but I drop clues all along the way. So I'm hoping that fans will just follow along. And I actually, you know what I'd like to do? Maybe I could run some kind of a fun giveaway to the fans. So if you guys follow me on social media and, you know, post some good comments and tag 3 of your friends or something.
Is Instagram the best place to follow you?
Yeah, that's like probably the best place, Instagram, which is at Graig Weich. Graigweich, spelled a little bit funky. You know,
you had me second guessing how to say it for sure. I was like, I don't want to mess this up.
It's not my fault though. It's but here, I'll try to you guys can see GraigWeich. That's on Instagram, and this you can follow on Facebook if that's what you have.
And can you
or
read
X, Twitter?
Can you read any of your stuff or see it digitally anywhere, or is it all physical?
Yes, absolutely. So you can go to globalcomicswithanx.com and download it there. You could get it on Amazon Kindle Comics, Comixology on through Amazon, and you could download the full book.
Cool.
It's the full comic book with the commemorative behind the scenes feature. It's like about 53 pages total. Like I think it's like $6 or something like that digitally. Perfect. Or something. And then I have a big announcement because we just got signed by a very major distributor, so I'll be announcing that soon.
Wow.
And and they got like Marvel and Disney and some good stuff, so you'll be seeing that, and not only for digital but NFTs and blockchain and a whole bunch of different formats coming, and another company that I just got an email yesterday from that wants to distribute the stuff. So if anybody just follows along, maybe I could try to select one of your names and throw it in a comic book or do something fun with it. So I'll eventually go through the followers list and pick somebody or something like that. You know what I mean? So please follow on all the social media and my YouTube channel. If you want to see, I kind of, my channels and my social media is just kind of like almost like a little, like a documentary of little things I do, going to charity events, and I donate a lot of my art to help sick children and animals in need, and at a lot of the charity events to help do that. So I'll just donate it. And one thing is I donated the comic book and I signed it and drew a sketch on it for NoKidHungry.org. And apparently that fed something like 2,500 kids just from the sale of one comic. So I was so grateful. That's what they told me. I was so grateful that, a fictional character could help people in the real world. It makes them real to me. You know what I mean?
Well, there's some serious truth behind that, whether it's just feeding people like through what you did, or whether it is giving somebody that story to like relate to, or to read, or to escape with, or just there's so many things that fiction and stories can do to help people in the real world. So what you're doing is awesome, and especially seeing like what you've been doing for so long. It's really cool that you've stuck with it for so many years, and like even after going through that year of like terror, like a lot of people would have just been like, I'm done, I don't want to risk anything anymore, but you kept going. You've still got your guy, your Ravedactyl. I mean, it's so cool, man. So it's really awesome to see that you're doing well. And I'm glad to hear about that, signing new stuff, like signing up for potential big stuff coming up.
I'm so excited about it. And, and again, there's some major producers that are looking at our movie decks and our corporate decks and our executive summary and financials and our projections and all this. There's a whole world of business that I had to learn. I literally had to, teach myself over many years how to do that, and run a company and make sure you protect your people and everything's transparent. It's very nerve-wracking, to be honest with you, but I'm, kind of trying to do the best I can with my team, and everything. But what you said earlier about, it kind of being important and touching the hearts of people, it reminds me of this lovely young girl who's in a wheelchair who came up to me at Comic-Con, and she had read my comic, and she looked at me. I'm sorry, I'm going to get like emotional. She looked at me and she said, I forgot I was in a wheelchair for 30 minutes when I read your comic. And like, I literally was like trying not to tear up, and she's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I was like, "Of course, dear," and I gave her a hug, and it was just like, that's the kind of stuff that hits you. Like it
changes people's lives for real.
It's wild. People don't realize, how important that kind of stuff is. You know what I mean? And the way you can touch people's hearts through these ideas, because our ideas are the things that, live forever sometimes, right?
All right, Graig, this has been amazing. Is there anything else you want to say before we go? Because we've covered a lot, but I'm sure there's probably something else we missed. So is there anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to plug? Don't forget that.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So yeah, I guess my social media, if you guys want to follow here, and if you guys could see that over there, it's Beyond Comics TV on YouTube. So youtube.com/Beyond Comics TV. Just search that. Don't mix up my company with Beyond Comics, the comic book store.
I did do that. That was a mistake. I'll admit it. I did it.
That's all right. Those guys are cool, but it's beyondcomics.tv. Don't search it because it'll bring up the old website. You got to put it in the brauser, and then you'll see the current one, which needs to be updated. I'm sorry, I haven't gotten to it.
You didn't know you were going to get this wave of incoming traffic today, did you?
I had no idea. To everybody out there who was sending a nice message, thank you. To everybody who was angry, I understand why you were angry. And if I did that, you would have been right. You just didn't know. And now I hope that you won't be angry and that you'll give me a chance to.
How can you be mad at this guy? I'm asking if you're watching this. How can you be mad at this guy? All right? Just let it go.
Thank you, man. High five through the phone.
Let's go.
Let's go. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you so much. And guys, if you get a chance, please just go to beyondcomics.tv. There's a link to download the comic book. You can click on the social media. Like, follow, share, subscribe, smash buttons, do whatever you want.
Yes. Greg, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And it's great to shed some light on this and to see that the potential origin, allegedly, came from a great character and a great person. So I appreciate you taking the time, man. It has been really nice.
I really appreciate you too, man. And just like a little shout out to some of the fans who came to see me at Comic-Con and some of the charity events. Please donate to whatever charity you like, guys. It's always good to help people out there, you know. And as they say in comics, to be continued.
To be continued. Blue eyes, white dragon, and the last back. We have transforming sphere. Did we get dark arm dragon? Let's go. We just have to believe. Believe.